Getting to the heart of the matter. Back to Guy, Ben, and Frank with more Inside the News.
Welcome back to more of Inside the News. Glad to have you with us. We've got Ben Brunson. He's in the bottom middle if you're watching us on YouTube or the AUN TV network. We got Frank Vernuccio in the top left. My name is Guy Wehman. Election Trail segment. We had 5 different items that we could choose from to head this thing off or start this segment off with, and we've all agreed with one. Are the polls wrong? Frank, you get first dibs.
Well, a Gallup poll was taken, and it found that a clear majority of registered voters, 56%, are saying that they are better off now than they were 4 years ago. And 32% said that they were worse off. In another portion of the poll, people are saying that they agree by, I think it's 52 to 48, with the Trump administration on the issues. So if 52% agree on the issues and 56% believe they are better off now than they were 4 years ago, why are the rest of the polls talking about a huge majority right now for Joe Biden? And one of the questions you have to ask is how the polls were conducted. Any valid pollster will tell you you can get any result you want from a poll, depending on how you take it. I haven't seen the particulars of how the polls were taken. If they're all taken with the majority of people from the Upper West Side of Manhattan and San Francisco and Los Angeles, then clearly Biden's going to come out ahead because those are traditionally hard left areas. It's been said more and more that Trump supporters are hanging up the phone on pollsters, simply not responding to it whatsoever. I think that's a clear factor in the way these polls are coming out. We also have to look 4 years ago, until about an hour before the polls closed on election night itself. We were told that it was all but inevitable that Hillary Clinton would be the next president. And of course, they were devastatingly wrong.
You know something, Ben, we've all been kind of watching this, and we all kind of fear what could happen. And not all, but many on the conservative right and even on the conservative middle, or, you know, basically independents, of what could happen if Biden wins this. And they're watching these polls going on. And I'm just saying, the more you put Biden on top of these polls, the more, you guys don't understand it, the more you're actually going to make the right work harder to put Trump in, because that's what they do. They will compete to win.
Well, look, let's dig into the Gallup poll and how significant that is. It started when Ronald Reagan asked the question when he was running against Jimmy Carter, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And that question propelled Reagan into the White House. Gallup, 4 years later, started asking that question. Now, when they asked that question in '84, 44% said they were better off under Ronald Reagan. He went on to win 49 of 50 states in a landslide re-election victory. In his successor, George Bush Sr., only 38% said in the affirmative, and he lost to Clinton. Now let's go forward. George Bush Jr., 47% said they were better off, and he was re-elected. Obama, 45% said they were better off, and he was re-elected. The moral of the story is, the magic number for re-election has been in that mid-40s range. That's been true with Bush Jr., Obama, Ronald Reagan. These numbers are historic. They are historically high, 56%. It is impossible for that number to be correct and polls to show Biden up 14% or 12% or whatever they're at nationwide. One or the other is complete and utter BS. And I suggest it's the latter. I'll go to other issues. You look at demographically, Trump has gained among blacks significantly. He got 6% of the black vote 4 years ago. He's going to get 15% or more now. People like Kanye West and Ice Cube are openly supporting Donald Trump. And they're not the only black influencers doing that. There is huge support. In Florida, Latino votes gave a third of their vote to Trump. Voters gave a third of their vote to Trump 4 years ago. The polling suggests it'll be closer to 50% now. And yet it's questionable. There are other polls that show somehow Biden leading. How these polls show this? Well, what they do is they take and they adjust the numbers for an assumed split between Democrats and Republicans that will show up at the polls. And they're using that flexibility to cook the numbers in favor of Joe Biden. I think the reality is going to be that Trump will do meaningfully better than he did 4 years ago. That's what I expect.
Frank, Ben and I, living down here in the Sunshine State, we're seeing these ads, and I don't know if you're seeing the same ads, but Biden is coming out. We're going to build the economy stronger than it was before. And I'm thinking, dude, you are so wrong, because the economy was so strong before the pandemic, and if there's anyone that's going to build it, it's going to be Donald J. Trump.
Well, we don't get political ads like that up in New York where the sun doesn't shine because it's not considered a state in play. But surprise, New York State actually might be in play. The ravages of Governor Cuomo, the nanny killer, as he's now known for a lot of people in the state, and Mayor de Blasio, who has introduced hardcore socialism or attempted to introduce hardcore socialism in New York State, has turned many traditional Democrats away from the hard left. Now, if it was assumed that Joe Biden was going to be president for 4 years, that might not have made too much of a difference. But there is a growing perception, particularly aided by Nancy Pelosi and the 25th Amendment issue, that in fact, this is not going to be a 4-year Biden administration. It's going to be a 4-month Biden administration, followed by the employment of the 25th Amendment and Harris taking over, meaning that the same type of government you're seeing in California, in New York City, is going to be there for the entire country. And traditional blue-collar workers are frankly shaken to the core about having that type of regime running the United States. Their jobs will be out of bounds altogether. The types of various employment like coal industry, manufacturing jobs will simply vanish. So that traditional Democrat core is looking askance at what could happen in a Harris administration. And that puts states like New York into play.
Yeah. Ben, what is quite interesting is that we go inside the news, but we're going to extrapolate a little bit. Should Donald Trump clean their clocks? And it's an overwhelming win. They are really going to be struggling of who they are, what's going on, the AOC. And yes, I'm not going to call her Cortez, like she says, someone says, that she doesn't want to be called AOC. Well, you know what? To me, she's AOC. She's just a bartender that got in the Congress by a fluke. Ben?
Well, let's go back to the Kamala Harris issue, because Frank is dead on. And in this issue, there are multiple factors that have hurt the Biden-Harris ticket. The Pence-Harris debate took place last week. Pence did great. He did as expected. He's always cool and calm and knowledgeable in a debate, but she revealed herself to be not ready for prime time. That was my main take. She has a terrible disposition. She was one of the first out in the primaries among Democratic candidates. She was not accepted by Democratic voters, and I don't think in the calm, cool reflection of reality that voters want to put her into the White House as the pseudo president of the United States, because everyone realizes that's what she'll be.
All right, we've come to the end of this segment here. We got to come back with Picking Up the Pieces segment and the ever-ending question that's on everyone's mind: why isn't Tulsi Gabbard a senator and not just a congressperson?
You're listening to Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio, Inside the News.